Hello everybody, it's very nice to see you. My name is Staffan Wahlgren. I am, as already mentioned, a professor of actually classical philology in Trondheim in Norway. And I'm here on research leave, and Peter has asked me to say something about some of the documents here in the Bodleian, so I'm very happy to do that, of course. So what I would like to do is to sort of, I don't know who I'm speaking to, perhaps you know more than I do. Perhaps
I wouldn't assume that.
Who knows? Anyway, what I would like to highlight is, of course, how great this collection is. If you go to the catalogue, you find about 2,300 Greek manuscript items, and it's about 500. Between 400 and 500 in parchment, between 600 and 700 in paper, and a lot of papyri. So it's actually one of the greatest collections in the world, after Vatican Library, Paris, and some other places. I suppose it is the largest collection in the British Isles. Cambridge has got about 400, so it's greater than that. So it's a large collection, it's a very important collection, and I would like to tell you something about the range of the collection. And the first thing we could mention in that context is, of course, that there is a great range in age. We have here a document from antiquity, something like 2nd or 3rd century AD. We have documents from the High Middle Ages, so to speak, from the 11th or 12th centuries, and all the way up to the 15th or perhaps even 16th century. And one thing here is that these documents are produced in very different ways, and you can use this fact also for dating purposes, and they tell us something about the history of book production from antiquity until modern age. So down there, this document from antiquity is written on papyrus, and papyrus was, of course, the normal material in book production in antiquity. And as you probably know, papyrus comes from a kind of grass that is mainly known from Egypt, and there was a very large trade of papyrus in antiquity, and this broke down at some time, so that a papyrus became increasingly difficult to get hold of in basically after the Arab conquest of Egypt. And already in antiquity we know something about using animal skin for book production, and there is at least one well-known story about that, how the authorities in Egypt tried to start a kind of trade war against their enemies, and to restrict the access to papyrus, and this drove the technical innovation, so that techniques were developed for producing what has been known as parchment, which is a certain technique behind for preparing animal skins. It has something to do with the city of Pergamon. So in the earlier part of the Middle Ages, books are normally I would say done with parchment, and this is a very good material for book production. It's almost indestructible. Some of these documents have problems with the binding, which is much newer than the manuscript you see, but the parchment will last another 2,000 years without any problem at all. So the three documents in the middle here are all parchment manuscripts. The problem with parchment is, of course, that it's extremely expensive. You have to kill animals, and a lot of animals. So you would need, for a book like that one, you would need dozens of sheep to produce one book. And it's something that then is replaced by paper. Paper comes from the East. Paper is known already in antiquity in China, and at some time it is via the Arabs travels to the Greek world, to Byzantium, and we have here just one paper manuscript, which is over there, which is even post-Byzantine. But after something like the 13th century, only very much deluxe manuscripts are produced on parchment, and paper becomes the normal thing. So for a very rough dating, if you think of dating here as a kind of theme, the material itself tells a story as to how old this a document might be when it may have been produced. But when it comes to paper, there are many other kinds of clues as to the age of a manuscript. Early paper, Byzantine, Eastern produced paper, is often of a very sort of without a clear structure, and this changes over time and in the West. And from the late 13th century there are watermarks in paper, from Italy especially, and these watermarks are very good indicators of the rather precise age of manuscript. So the manuscript you have got there is clearly on Western paper, but without any watermarks. It has the structure of Western paper. It must be have something to do with Italy, but there are no watermarks. We can't date it very precisely. So these are some clues to the age of manuscripts, and of course the paleography tells you something about the age of a manuscript, the writing, and I'm not going to go into any kind of detail here, but just say one or two words about each document. I suppose the time is running very quickly.
Yeah,
so
if you focus on perhaps on this, Staffan.
Well, let us just 30 seconds of these.
The first. You've got a speed date.
Yes. I have never tested that actually. Anyway, this is a papyrus from, as I said, 2nd, 3rd century. It's Herodotus, a well-known writer of the 5th century BC. It is clearly it gives some view of what the book looked in antiquity. It has been a roll. It is not a codex, it's a roll. And if you look at the paleography, you can see that it's very tidy, and it's clear that it must be dated to about that time. It can't be very much earlier, when you wrote more in a style which reminds you of what you see on stones, as with less rounded characters. So let's leave that. We go to the second one, which is actually one of the most famous Greek manuscripts, certainly in Oxford. It is the Chronicle of John Malalas of the 6th century. The first preserved Byzantine world chronicle, that is a story of the world from Adam and Eve until probably the time of the author. It came to Oxford already in the 17th century, and there is a long story connected with Oxford, how this manuscript has been edited and presented to the world. And some of you will know Elizabeth Jeffreys, who was a professor here of Byzantine Studies and who has done a lot on that manuscript, including producing a... So, the third manuscript I picked out because it has some illustrations. It is the so-called Alexander Romance, which is a kind of fictitious retelling of the life of Alexander the Great. And you can see, if you look at it closely, on the pictures that he kills his actual biological father, and goes to his mother and say, could it be that that man was my father, a real father? And she has to say, yeah. And of course he has to bury this man who is an Egyptian called Nectanebo. So the last two are also Byzantine chronicle writing, and I have worked myself a lot on these, and I wanted to show them here for the reason that they show more or less the same text in different versions. It tells us something about the rewriting of historical material and about the popularity of chronicles in Byzantium and beyond. And especially, as mentioned or hinted at here, there is a very nice colophon in that manuscript. First of all, there is information about the scribe. It's dated to the year 1118, and there is a very strong warning against stealing these manuscripts. Don't even think about it. You will be cursed by the fathers of the church and by the 7 holy synods. So it's a kind of magic almost in this. Yes?
Yeah.
Done.